and welcome to the Roselle and Friends talk show. Well, it's the perfect time of the year to talk about Easter. But with the multitude of Easter celebrations around the world, the majority which have nothing to do with the Christian meaning of Easter, there's one burning question. And this question is this: has the Christian Easter been hijacked? According to the Bible, Easter is the celebration of the resurrection of Jesus from the tomb on the third day after his crucifixion. This is an event which follows prophecy of Jesus Christ, who would be persecuted, die for our sins, and rise on the third day. Remembering the resurrection of Jesus at Easter time, Christians renew the hope that there is victory over sin. Now, according to the New Testament, Easter is 3 days after the death of Jesus on the cross. Easter follows a period of fasting called Lent, in which many churches set aside time for repentance and remembrance. Lent itself begins on Ash Wednesday, which is in February. And then there is a 40-day period that sometimes ends in March or April on Good Friday, the day of Jesus' crucifixion. This 40-day period was established by Pope Gregory I, or Saint Gregory as he's commonly called, the Bishop of Rome, from 3rd September 590 AD to 604 AD. Now, using the 40-day pattern of Israel, Moses, Elijah, and Jesus' time in the wilderness, it's how the 40 days have been adopted. It's a very important time of the year for Christians, and the week leading up to Easter, the Holy Week or Passion Week, and that includes Palm Sunday, which is the day Jesus entered Jerusalem and was celebrated. Then there is Maundy Thursday, the Last Supper, where Jesus met with his disciples to observe the Passover. And of course, there is Good Friday, when Jesus would be crucified on the cross. Therefore, Easter is a very significant date within Christianity. In fact, it is the foundation of the Christian faith. Jesus, the Son of God, fulfilled prophecy, and through his death has given the gift of eternal life in heaven to those who believe in his death and resurrection. It's a serious time of reenactment, remembrance, symbolic events, and pious behavior. Now, here it is how it's celebrated and remembered in Ethiopia, with the symbolic carrying of the cross. And in South Africa, the cross is also carried, reenacting the journey to Calvary. Also in East Africa, the symbolic reenactment of the road to Calvary and carrying the cross, the crucifixion symbol itself. Reenacting the final journey to Calvary, where Jesus is nailed. So, based on the Easter story, when did Easter celebrations begin? Now, the earliest Christians celebrated the resurrection of the 14th of Nisan, which is mid-March to April, the date of the Jewish Passover. Jewish days were reckoned from evening to evening. So Jesus had celebrated his Last Supper the evening of the Passover and was crucified the day of the Passover. Early Christians celebrating the Passover worshipped Jesus as the Paschal Lamb and Redeemer. However, some of the Gentile Christians began celebrating Easter in the nearest Sunday to Passover, since Jesus actually arose on a Sunday, And this especially became the case in the western part of the Roman Empire. In Rome itself, different congregations celebrated Easter on different days. Many felt that the date should continue to be based on the timing of the resurrection during Passover. Therefore, once Jewish leaders decide on the date of Passover each year, Christian leaders set the date for Easter by figuring these 3 days after Passover. Following this schedule would have meant that Easter would be a different day of the week each year, only falling on a Sunday once in a while. This is because there were very different views on when Easter was to be celebrated. And these different views go something like this. Some believe since Christ rose on a Sunday, this day had to be set aside as his day. This was the only possible to celebrate his resurrection. Then, as Christianity drew from Judaism, some were reluctant to base the Christian celebration on the Jewish calendar. Constantine, the first Roman emperor to convert to Christianity, wanted Christianity to be totally separated from Judaism and did not want Easter to be celebrated on the Jewish Passover. Then the Council of Nicaea is a council of Christian bishops who convened in Nicaea by the Roman Emperor Constantine I. They required the Feast of the Resurrection to be celebrated on a Sunday and never on the Jewish Passover. Easter was to be the Sunday after the first full moon after the spring equinox. And this is still the method used to determine Easter today, which is why some years we have Easter earlier than other years. So, for Christians, the first image that might come to mind with mention of the word Easter is a cross or an empty tomb. Now, therefore, if this is what Easter is all about, what about the various traditional symbols and goods we see year after year as we are bombarded by shelves of commercialized goods that's supposed to symbolize Easter? Generally, observed traditions across the globe include the Easter bunny, colored eggs, gift baskets, and flowers. The Easter bunny, where did that come from? And whose idea was it for Easter to be linked to eggs and egg hunting? So let's look at some Christian and pagan traditions that symbolize Easter to people around the world. There are many traditions that surround the entire Lent season, Holy Week, and Easter Sunday. Let's take a peek around some countries of the world and look at how the most meaningful event and celebration in the Christian calendar has been hijacked by people globally. And for many, unfortunately, it's what they believe to be the true meaning of Easter. In Australia, bunnies are considered pests that ruin crops and land. And Aussies celebrate with their native marsupial, the bibli, which has large ears and a more pointed nose. And in Poland, on Easter Monday, boys try to soak people with buckets of water. And this tradition has its root in the baptism of the Polish prince Mieszko in 996 AD. Now, you may not have heard of it, but Smingus Dingus is a Polish Easter tradition. You won't forget it in a hurry. The young boys would gather outside churches and on all streets with the intention of soaking girls in water as they come out of Easter church services. Buckets, water pistols, and just about any other vessel is used in this game. Although it may sound like over-the-top water fights, the tradition itself had its origin in the baptism of Polish Prince Mieszko on Easter Monday in 966 AD. Legend has it that if a girl gets soaked during Smingus Dingus, she will be married within that year. Let's hope it's a warm Easter in Poland this year. Now in Greece, there is some celebration among the Greek Orthodox churches when people fast and do not eat meat, oil, or dairy products until midnight on Easter Saturday, which is after the symbolic resurrection. And those in Greece not following the Christian traditions, the morning of Holy Sunday is known as annual pot throwing. Residents would throw pots out of windows. It's a tradition used to mark the beginning of spring and new crops being gathered in new pots. In Europe, there are large bonfires called Easter fires that are lit on Easter Sunday into Monday. This Saxon origin is that the fires will chase away winter and Easter will bring spring. In the Caribbean region, though predominantly Christian countries, they also add to their Easter celebration with the traditional custom of kite flying. And others in the Caribbean islands take part in special Easter bonnets competition. In some islands in the Caribbean, Easter is also a time to celebrate the risen Christ with joyous cultural expressions of dancing. Whereas in Germany, Germans prefer to use their eggs to decorate trees as part of the Easter festival. Although it's held 3 weeks before Easter Sunday, it's still deemed an Easter celebration and is probably one of the most important holidays in the year in Germany. Now let's go to Switzerland. Locals come out in their droves to officially welcome summer and tell winter that it's time to take a hike. As well as the Easter tree, the festival also uses an Easter bonfire for ceremonial burning of a specially made winter tree and a snowman. Not only is this a unique start to Easter celebrations, it's certainly an extravagant way of welcoming the summer months in. The Franconian Swiss, the people of Franconia in northern Bavaria, they focus their celebrations around water. Water, as we know, is a source of life, and since Easter is about celebrating life, they decorate their wells with Easter eggs, spring flowers, and ribbons to celebrate the gift of life that the well provides them with. They're said to be not so fond of the Easter bunny too. However, the children don't miss out. The Easter cuckoo delivers Easter eggs instead. Now, how about this in France? In France, forget about chocolate eggs. The French stick to the usual kind. In a tradition that supposedly goes all the way back to Napoleon, in Haute France, the residents celebrate Easter Monday by making an omelette of epic proportions. We're talking 4,500 eggs in this recipe. Several chefs armed with wooden paddles to make it and a giant skillet to cook it in. Once cooked, the hungry residents can tuck in and enjoy their Easter omelette. It's certainly a way to avoid a subsequent chocolate sugar rush. Now hear this. In Norway, Easter is a popular time for people to divulge in a little crime fiction. So much so that publishers actually bring out Easter thriller specials. Known locally, the tradition is said to have begun in 1923 when a book publisher promoted their new crime thriller on the front pages of the papers over Easter. It's said that the adverts resembled news stories so much, people didn't realize it was a publicity stunt. And ever since that, the taste for crime fiction has stood firm over the holiday in Norway. But what about the Easter Bunny? Apart from those celebrations so far, what is the first thing that comes to most children's mind when you ask them about Easter? Well, since they are consumed by a blitz of media, images, merchandise on store shelves, it makes it more likely that the Easter Bunny comes to mind. So, how did a rabbit distributing eggs become part of Easter? There are several reasons. For the rabbit or hare to be associated with Easter, all which come through pagan celebrations or beliefs. The most obvious is the hare's fertility. Easter comes during spring and celebrates new life. The Christian meaning of new life through Christ and a general emphasis on new life are different, but the two gradually merged. Any animals, like the hare that produced many offspring, were easy to include. The hare is also an ancient symbol for the moon. The date of Easter depends on the moon. This may have helped the hare to be absorbed into Easter celebrations. In fact, the hare or rabbit's burrow helped the animal's adoption as part of Easter celebrations. Christian believers saw the rabbit coming out of its underground home as a symbol for Jesus' coming out of the tomb. Perhaps this was another case of taking a pre-existing symbol and giving it a Christian meaning. The Easter hare was brought to America by German immigrants, and the hare's role passed to the common American rabbit. And originally, children made nests for rabbits in hats, bonnets, or fancy paper boxes rather than the baskets of today. Once the children finished their nests, they put them in a scheduled spot to keep from frightening the shy rabbit. The appealing nests full of colored eggs probably helped the custom to spread. Whereas back in southern Germany, the first pastry and candy Easter bunnies became popular at the beginning of the 19th century. This custom also crossed the Atlantic, and children still eat candy rabbits, particularly chocolate ones, at Easter. So, what about the origin and the history of Easter eggs? Next to the Easter bunny, the most familiar symbol is the Easter egg. Like others, the egg has a long pre-Christian history. Again, there's no certainty as to why it became associated with Easter. Many ancient cultures viewed eggs as a symbol of life. Hindus, Egyptians, Persians, and Phoenicians, they believed the world began with an enormous egg. The Persians, Greeks, and Chinese gave gifts of eggs during spring festivals in celebration of new life all around them. Other sources say people ate dyed eggs at spring festival in Egypt, Persia, Greece, and Rome. In ancient Druid lore, the eggs of serpent were sacred and stood for life. But early Christians looked at the connection eggs had to life and decided it could be part of their celebration of Christ's resurrection. In addition, in some areas, eggs were forbidden during Lent. Therefore, they were a delicacy at Easter. And since many of the earlier customs were in Eastern origin, some speculate that early missionaries or knights of the crusade may have been responsible for bringing the tradition to the West. In the 4th century, people presented eggs in church to be blessed and sprinkled with holy water. This still happens in Poland today. By the 12th century, the Benedicto Ovorum had been introduced, authorizing the special use of eggs on the holy days of Easter. The timing of this blessing would uphold the idea that crusaders may have brought the tradition back. Even though eggs had been used previously, the crusaders may have made the custom more popular and widespread. In 1290, King Edward I recorded a purchase of 450 eggs to be coloured or covered with gold leaf. He then gave the eggs to members of the royal household. Once the custom became accepted, new traditions began to grow up around it. Eggs were dyed red for joy and in memory of Christ's blood. Egg rolling contests went to America from England, possibly as a reminder of the stone being rolled away at the tomb. And what about the familiar Easter egg hunt? One source suggested that it grew out of the tradition of German children searching for hidden pretzels during the Easter season. Since children were hiding nests for the Easter bunny to fill with eggs at the same time they were hunting pretzels, it was only a small leap to begin hiding eggs instead. And another symbol, the Easter lamb. Of all the Easter symbols, the lamb is probably the most strongly Christian. Why? Other than the fact that lambs are young animals born in springtime, it has no strong ties to pagan traditions. The lamb comes from the Jewish Passover, where each family killed a lamb as a sacrifice. When Christ became a Passover lamb for everyone, the lamb became a symbol for his sacrifice. And then there are new clothes at Easter. Do you buy new clothes at Easter? New clothes have long been associated with the idea of newness and a fresh beginning. The familiar custom of having new clothes for Easter probably began with early Christians wearing white robes for baptism during Easter vigil services. Later, the custom expanded to everyone wearing new clothes in celebration of his or her new life in Christ. And what about sunrise services? The familiar sunrise service is a relatively new addition to Easter. It is said that a group of young Moravian men in Hernut, Saxony, held the first recorded sunrise service in 1732. They went to the cemetery called God's Acre at sunrise to worship in memory of the women who went to the tomb early on the first Easter Monday and discovered it empty. Moravian immigrants brought the custom to America, with the first service in the United States held in 1743. And another symbol, the Easter lily. The Easter lily is another new addition to Easter celebrations. Throughout the years, painters and sculptors used the white Madonna lily to symbolize purity and innocence, frequently referring to Mary, the mother of Jesus. In the USA, in the 1880s, it is said that a Mrs. Thomas Sargent took Bermuda lily bulbs to Philadelphia, where it was considered easy to force into bloom in time for Easter season. From there, the Bermuda lily, now the familiar lily, has spread throughout the country as the Easter lily. So, symbols. Easter falls on Sunday this year on the 4th of April, 2021. It's celebrated on the Sunday following the first full moon after the vernal equinox, also called spring equinox, and that signals the beginning of spring. Now, the spring equinox doesn't arrive on the same day every year, so calculating the proper date can be difficult. This is why some years we have Easter earlier than others. But here's some fun facts to put you ahead of the calendar. Here are some future facts, in fact. The Easter dates for the next 5 years. So this year is 4th of April 2021. In 2022, it will be on the 17th of April. In 2023, it will be on April the 9th. In 2024, the 31st of March. And in 2025, the 20th of April. There, you can begin to plan your Easter for the next 5 years. So, I began by outlining the true meaning of Easter as being the most significant event in the Christian religion. And despite the various global interpretations and corruptions of the meaning of the event, this Easter, take time to reflect on its meaning in your life. And so it's Happy Easter from me and the team. And God bless you. Happy Easter.